The dragon crashed through the hangar bay doors at full velocity, scattering Marines like leaves. Its scales shimmered black and violet under the station's emergency lights. Alarms screamed. People died. Ethan Cole pressed himself against the maintenance shaft, wrench still in his hand, grease still on his uniform. He was nothing. A mechanic, 18 years old and invisible to everyone who mattered on Frontier Station 9, but the dragon saw him. It locked eyes with him across 50 meters of chaos and burning metal. "Move, kid!" Lieutenant Morrison grabbed his shoulder, yanking him toward the evacuation corridor. The dragon's head snapped in their direction. Morrison's chest exploded in purple flame before he could scream. Ethan hit the deck, rolled, came up running. The species called themselves the Crevathi. Humanity called them dragons because that's what they look like. Massive reptilian bodies, wings that could shatter steel, breath that melted titanium. They'd appeared 6 months ago at the edge of human space, silent and hostile. 3 colonies burned before anyone understood. They weren't here to talk. This one was hunting. Ethan sprinted through corridors he'd cleaned 1,000 times. Behind him, the dragon's roar shook the walls. Ahead, the emergency pods were launching. He could see them through the viewport, streaking away like silver tears. He wasn't going to make it. The dragon's claw punched through the ceiling above him. Ethan dove left, skidded under a fuel line, scrambled up. His hand caught something around his neck. Not his neck, someone else's. A body. Corporal Hayes, or what remained of her. Her hand was clutched around something that glowed faint blue, a necklace. Strange symbols etched into a crystal pendant. It pulsed like a heartbeat. The dragon's head smashed through the wall. Ethan grabbed the necklace. The moment his fingers touched crystal, the world went white. Power flooded through him. Not human power. Something older, something that made the dragon freeze mid-strike, its eyes suddenly wide with what might have been fear. Ethan stood. The wrench in his other hand began to glow the same blue as the crystal. The fear in the dragon's eyes shifted to something else. Recognition, it spoke. Not in words, but directly into his mind, bypassing language entirely. Impossible. The covenant is broken. You should not exist. Ethan didn't understand, didn't care. The station was dying around him. His friends were dead. This thing had killed them. The power in the necklace surged, and Ethan moved without thinking. He swung the wrench. Blue energy exploded outward. The dragon's head snapped back, scales cracking, dark blood spraying. It retreated through the hole it had made, wings beating once, twice, lifting it away from him. But it didn't leave the station. It waited. Ethan looked down at the necklace, at the crystal now burning against his chest, at the symbols that somehow, impossibly, he could now read. Bearer of the bond, master of the fallen, the last of the chosen. The station shuddered. More dragons were coming. The command deck was a slaughterhouse. Ethan stepped over bodies he'd shared meals with yesterday, people whose names he knew, whose families waited for messages that would never come. Captain Ramirez was still breathing, barely, slumped against her command chair with a hole burned through her abdomen. "Sir," Ethan knelt beside her, hands shaking. The necklace pulsed against his chest, warm and insistent. "Cole?" Her eyes focused on him with effort. Blood bubbled at her lips. "You're alive. Dragons are still on the station. I need to help people evacuate." He didn't mention the necklace. Didn't know how to explain what he didn't understand himself. "No evacuation," Ramirez coughed, crimson spraying. "They're blocking the pods, picking them off like target practice. 300 souls still alive on this station. No way out." The deck trembled. Through the shattered viewport, Ethan saw them. 7 more dragons circling the station like sharks. The one he'd hit was among them, distinctive by the cracked scales along its jaw. It was watching the command deck. watching him. Why aren't they finishing us? Ethan asked. Ramirez's hand found his, gripped with surprising strength. Her eyes dropped to the necklace visible above his collar. Where did you get that? Hayes had it. I just grabbed it when... Elena Hayes. Ramirez actually laughed, though it turned into a wet cough. She always said her grandmother's stories were real. The covenant, the bond. I thought she was crazy. What covenant? What is this thing? Before humanity reached the stars, someone else did. Someone who made the Crevathy bow. The dragons weren't always enemies, Cole. They were servants, bound by ancient law to protect humanity, not destroy it. Ramirez's grip tightened. That necklace is a control device, a relic from the first contact thousands of years before our recorded history. If it chose you, the first dragon smashed through the viewport. Ethan threw himself over Ramirez as glass and metal exploded inward. The necklace flared. Blue energy formed a dome around them both. Shrapnel bounced off harmlessly. The dragon's claws scraped against the barrier, unable to penetrate. It pulled back, hovering outside the shattered viewport on massive wings. This one was larger than the first, scales deep crimson instead of violet black. When it spoke, the mental voice was different, older, colder. You bear the mark, human whelp, but you are not chosen. The covenant died with the last keeper. 3 centuries passed. Ethan stood slowly, helping Ramirez to lean against the ruined console. The necklace was hot now, almost burning. Information flooded his mind unbidden. Not words, pure knowledge, downloading directly into his consciousness. The Crevathy Covenant, signed in blood and starfire when humanity was young. Dragons bound to serve. Humans sworn to protect the ancient knowledge. A partnership that had lasted millennia until the keepers died out and the covenant shattered. Now the dragons wanted freedom, wanted revenge, wanted to burn away every trace of the species that had once commanded them. I am chosen now, Ethan said, surprised by the certainty in his voice. The red dragon's laugh was like grinding stone. You know nothing of the bond, nothing of command. You cannot even speak the true language. Then teach me. The words came from somewhere deep inside, from the part of him that had grabbed the necklace without thinking, that had struck the first dragon and lived. Or are you afraid? The dragon's eyes narrowed. Around the station, the others moved closer, forming a tightening circle. The old laws are specific, the red dragon said slowly. A challenge given must be answered. Very well, Mark-bearer. You wish to learn? We shall teach you as we taught the first keepers, through trial, through pain, through fire. It gestured with one claw. The violet-black dragon Ethan had wounded earlier descended toward the breach in the viewport, landing heavily on the deck. Metal groaned under its weight. This is Vexor, youngest of our flight. Defeat him in single combat, and we honor the old ways. We will hear your commands, human, and consider whether the covenant can be renewed. The red dragon's teeth gleamed. Fail, and we burn this station to ash, with everyone inside. You have 1 hour to prepare. The dragons withdrew, all except Vexor, who settled onto his haunches and stared at Ethan with unreadable reptilian eyes. I remember your strike, little keeper. Vexor's mental voice was quieter than the elders, almost curious. You moved well for an untrained whelp, but in 1 hour I will kill you properly. This I swear. Ramirez pulled Ethan down beside her. Listen carefully. I don't have long. Hayes told me things before she shipped out. If that necklace accepts you, it can do more than shield. It can enhance, strengthen, let you match a Crevathy warrior in combat. She coughed blood. But you need to bond with it fully. Let it in completely. Stop fighting the connection. I'm not fighting anything. Yes, you are. I can see it. You're afraid of what it's offering. afraid of the power. Her eyes locked onto his. 300 people, Ethan, all counting on the mechanic who fixes their toilets and calibrates their air recyclers. The invisible kid. The nobody. She smiled faintly. Be somebody. Just this once. Let the necklace make you what we need. She died before he could answer. Ethan sat in the ruined command deck, surrounded by the dead, with a dragon watching and 59 minutes remaining. He closed his eyes and stopped resisting. The necklace blazed. The bond opened like a door, and Ethan Cole ceased being nobody at all. The transformation hurt worse than anything Ethan had ever imagined. The necklace didn't just grant power. It rewrote him at a cellular level, flooding his body with energy that felt like liquid lightning in his veins. His bones hardened, his muscles compressed and strengthened. His senses expanded until he could hear heartbeats 3 decks away, smell the ozone from damaged electrical systems, see thermal signatures through solid walls, and the knowledge and centuries of it compressed into brutal downloads that felt like ice picks through his skull. Combat techniques? Dragon anatomy, the true language of the Cravathi, composed not of sounds but of intent and will made manifest. When he opened his eyes, Vexor was closer, head tilted with something that might have been concern. You survived the bonding, the dragon said. Most humans break. Their minds shatter like glass under the weight of what the mark demands. Ethan stood. His body moved differently now, balanced and precise. Hayes survived it. Elena Hayes never fully opened herself to the bond. She wore the mark but never accepted its depths. Fear stopped her. Vexor's tail swept slowly across the deck. You had no such restraint, foolish or brave. I cannot determine which. Does it matter? To me? No. In 40 minutes I will still kill you. But Vexor's tone carried something new. Respect, maybe, or anticipation. The Red Elder is Cormath, first of the Circle. He does not believe the Covenant can be restored. He thinks you will fail, and the old chains will remain broken forever. Most of my kind agree with him. But not you? Vexor's scales rippled, a gesture Ethan now understood meant uncertainty. I am young. I never knew the Covenant times. I only know war. If the ancient ways offered something better than endless burning, I would see it proven or disproven honestly. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. So I will not hold back, little keeper. I will fight as though you were Cravathi, not human. This is the only respect worth offering. Ethan felt the station shake. Through his enhanced senses, he tracked the remaining survivors, 283 now, clustered in the lower decks, frightened, praying. Some tried to reach the remaining escape pods only to retreat when dragon fire drove them back. They were trapped, waiting for a mechanic to save them or die trying. He looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly blue, energy crackling between his fingers. The wrench he'd carried was gone, lost somewhere in the chaos. But the necklace whispered that he didn't need weapons. Not anymore. Teach me their names, Ethan said suddenly. Vexor's head drew back. What? The dragons circling outside? You called the Red One Cormath. What are the others called? Why does this matter? Because if I'm going to lead them, I should know who they are. Ethan met the dragon's gaze steadily. That's what the Covenant was, wasn't it? Not slavery, partnership. The old keepers didn't just command. They knew their dragons, understood them. Vexor was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he began. Cormath, you know, the silver female is this. Second of the circle, eldest of us all. The bronze twins are Raxor and Raxel, hatched from the same clutch 3 centuries past. The green is Malthor, who burns hottest among us. The pale blue is Selen, wisest in ancient lore. The black is Drevok, who has killed more humans than any other. Vexor's voice dropped. And I am Vexer who has killed none. I am youngest, least proven. The others question whether I deserve my place in the circle. Understanding clicked. That's why Cormath chose you for this fight. If you kill me, you prove yourself. If I kill you, they lose nothing important. Yes, no shame in Vexer's admission, but I will not fall easily, Mark-bearer. Young does not mean weak. The station's emergency systems crackled to life. A voice, broken and desperate, echoed through the speakers. This is Sergeant Maxwell in engineering. We've got maybe 2 hours of life support left. Hull breaches on 12 decks, if anyone's listening. If anyone's still alive up there. Ethan grabbed the nearest console, forcing the damaged systems to respond through sheer will channeled from the necklace. Maxwell, this is Cole, command deck. I'm here. Silence then. Cole? The mechanic Cole? Yeah. Where's Captain Ramirez? Where's command staff? Ethan looked at the bodies surrounding him. Dead? It's just me. But I'm handling it. Maxwell's laugh was bitter. Handling it? Kid, there are dragons outside playing with us like cats with mice. How exactly are you? 30 minutes, Ethan interrupted. Get everyone to the main assembly bay. Everyone who can move. I'm ending this. He cut the channel before Maxwell could argue. Vexer watched him with those unreadable reptilian eyes. Confident words. Can you support them with action? Ethan rolled his shoulders, feeling the new strength coiled in his enhanced muscles. The necklace pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, synchronizing completely. Information continued to filter into his mind, tactical data and combat predictions flowing faster than conscious thought. He could see the fight before it happened. Vexer would strike high using superior size and reach. Most humans would dodge low, playing defensive, hoping to tire the dragon out. That's what Hayes would have done, what any rational person would do. But Ethan wasn't fighting to survive. He was fighting to prove the Covenant could work, that humans could stand as equals with the Cravathi, not cower beneath them. Let's find out, Ethan said. The necklace flared brilliant blue, energy wrapped around his body like armor, solidifying into patterns that resembled dragon scales. His hands lengthened slightly, fingers tipped with claws of pure light. Wings of crystalline energy unfurled from his shoulders, not large enough for flight but perfect for balance and quick directional changes. Vexer's eyes widened. The battle form. I did not think any human still knew how to invoke it. I didn't know either, Ethan admitted, but the mark remembers. Outside the viewport, the other dragons drew closer. Cormath's voice boomed across the void and through the station's hull. The hour is ended, Mark-bearer. Step forward and face the trial of fire. Prove the Covenant lives or die with its memory. Ethan walked toward the shattered viewport. Vexer rose to his full height, towering over him, wings spreading wide. Last chance to run, little keeper, Vexer said quietly. Ethan smiled. You first. Then he launched himself at the dragon's throat. Ethan's clawed strike tore through the air where Vexer's neck had been. The dragon twisted impossibly fast for something so large, tail whipping around to catch Ethan's ribs. The impact would have shattered bone yesterday. Today, the energy armor absorbed most of the force, and Ethan rode the momentum into a spinning kick that cracked against Vexer's jaw. The dragon's head snapped sideways. Black blood sprayed. Vexer roared and dove forward, jaws wide enough to swallow Ethan whole. Ethan dropped flat, slid across the deck, came up inside Vexer's guard. His energy claws raked across the dragon's chest, scoring deep furrows through violet-black scales. Vexer's wings slammed down like a hammer. Ethan raised both arms, caught the blow, muscles screaming as he redirected the force rather than absorbing it. They broke apart, circling. Through the viewport, Ethan saw the other dragons watching in absolute silence. Cormath's expression was unreadable. The silver female leaned forward with what might have been interest. "You fight well," Vexor admitted, breathing heavily. "Better than Hayes ever did, but technique alone will not save you." The dragon's throat swelled. Purple fire gathered deep in his chest, visible through the gaps between scales. Ethan's enhanced senses screamed warning, and he threw himself sideways as a column of superheated plasma tore through the space he'd occupied. Metal melted, consoles exploded, the entire deck became an inferno. Ethan's wings flared, propelling him upward and over the flames. He landed on Vexor's back, claws digging into scale joints for grip. The dragon bucked and rolled, trying to crush him against the ceiling. Ethan held on, pulled himself higher toward the base of Vexor's skull, where the armor was thinnest. Vexor slammed backward into a bulkhead. The impact rattled Ethan's teeth, but he didn't let go. His right hand drew back, energy concentrating into a single point of brilliant blue light. One strike here would sever Vexor's spine, end the fight, prove his dominance. The necklace urged him to do it, showed him exactly where to cut, how to kill efficiently. Ethan hesitated. This wasn't an enemy. Not really. Vexor had been honest, even helpful, fighting because ancient law demanded it, not from hatred. Killing him would win the trial but lose something more important, the trust that the Covenant needed to function. That split second of hesitation cost him. Vexor's neck curved impossibly backward, jaws snapping shut around Ethan's torso. Teeth like swords pierced through the energy armor, punched into flesh. Agony exploded through Ethan's chest and abdomen. The dragon whipped his head sideways, hurling Ethan across the command deck. He hit hard, rolled, struggled to rise as blood poured from a dozen puncture wounds. The necklace blazed, trying to heal him, but the damage was severe. Vexor advanced slowly, limping slightly from his own injuries, but clearly winning. "You could have killed me," Vexor said. "Why did you stop?" Ethan coughed blood. "Because the Covenant isn't about domination. It's about partnership. Hayes's grandmother knew that. The old keepers knew that." He forced himself to stand despite the pain. "If I have to murder you to lead your people, then the Covenant deserves to stay dead." Cormath's voice boomed from outside, foolish, weak. "This is why humans cannot—" Silence first. Vice's voice was quieter but carried absolute authority. "Let the young ones finish." Vexor stopped 3 paces away, his head tilted, studying Ethan with new intensity. "You would rather die than become what we fled from? The old keepers who commanded through fear and force? That's not what they all were." Ethan's vision swam, but he kept talking. The necklace fed him memories, showed him fragments of the true history. Some were tyrants, yeah, but the best ones were different. They fought alongside their dragons, protected them, mourned them when they fell. He met Vexor's gaze. "I'm nobody special, just a mechanic. But if I'm going to wear this mark, I'm going to do it right or not at all." Vexor was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked everyone watching. He lowered his head. "You have proven enough, Ethan Cole. You possess the strength to command and the wisdom to choose mercy. These are the marks of a true keeper." Vexor's mental voice carried a weight of formality. "I, Vexor of the 7th Clutch, acknowledge the bond. I submit to the Covenant renewed." Energy exploded from the necklace, blue light streaming outward to wrap around Vexor's body. The dragon gasped as centuries-old chains reformed, not binding him, but connecting him. Ethan felt it too, a sudden awareness of Vexor's thoughts and feelings, his fears and hopes, his very essence intertwining with his own. The bond snapped into place and Ethan nearly collapsed from the intensity. Outside the station, chaos erupted. Cormath roared fury. "Treason! Vexor, you betray your own kind." But this was laughing, a sound like distant thunder. "The whelp has more courage than you, Cormath. He chose his keeper honestly. That is his right under the ancient laws you claim to remember. The laws are dead. They live if we choose to honor them. Thys descended toward the viewport, her massive silver form blotting out the stars. Her eyes fixed on Ethan with predatory focus. But one dragon does not make a covenant, human. Vexor may accept you, but the rest of us require more convincing. Ethan felt Vexor's presence in his mind now, distinct and clear. Through their bond, he sensed the dragon's injuries mirroring his own, the exhaustion they both shared, but also the determination, the hope that maybe, finally, the endless war could end. "What do you want?" Ethan asked Thys. "Action, not words. Your station dies around you. 200 souls still trapped. The old keepers could save their people even against impossible odds." Thys gestured with one claw toward the hull breaches, the failing life support, the fires spreading through multiple decks. "Prove you are worthy of the mark. Save them, all of them. You have 1 hour before the reactor core destabilizes and vaporizes everything within 10 kilometers.
The reactor wasn't damaged, Ethan protested.
The Malthor, the green dragon, drifted closer. Heat radiated from his scales. "It is now. I made certain of it while you fought. 1 hour, human. Starting now." The dragons withdrew, leaving Ethan and Vexor alone in the ruined command deck. Through the bond, Ethan felt Vexor's anger at Malthor's sabotage, but also his acceptance that this was how things had to be. "Can you move?" Ethan asked. "Can you?" Vexor countered. They looked at each other, both wounded, both bleeding. Then Ethan started laughing despite the pain. After a moment, Vexor's rumbling chuckle joined him. "We're going to die doing this, aren't we?" Ethan said. "Almost certainly." Vexor lowered his shoulder. "Climb on, Keeper. If we're going to fail, let's fail spectacularly." Ethan pulled himself onto the dragon's back, settling between the wing joints. Through the bond, he felt their injuries beginning to share and equalize, the necklace's power flowing between them, healing faster than either could manage alone. The intercom crackled, Maxwell's voice desperate. "Cole, the reactor's going critical. Engineering shows 58 minutes until full meltdown. Whatever you're planning, do it now." Ethan pressed his hand against Vexor's scales, feeling the dragon's heartbeat synchronize with his own. "Take us to engineering, fast." Vexor's wings spread wide, and they launched through the shattered viewport into the void between decks, racing against time and fire to save people who didn't even know a nobody mechanic had become their only hope. Engineering was an inferno. The reactor core pulsed sickly green, radiation warnings screaming from every console. Malthor had done his work thoroughly. Coolant lines were severed, control rods jammed, fail-safes overridden. The core would breach in 43 minutes and take the entire station with it. Sergeant Maxwell stared as Vexor crashed through the reinforced doors with Ethan on his back. "What in the actual—" "No time." Ethan dropped to the deck, stumbled, caught himself. The shared healing through the bond had closed his worst wounds, but exhaustion was setting in. "Get everyone to the main assembly bay." Now the bay's compromised. Hull breach on the western wall. No pressure seals holding. "I'll handle it. Just get them there." Ethan was already moving toward the reactor, the necklace feeding him technical data faster than he could process consciously. His hands flew across controls, trying combinations that shouldn't work, but did because the Mark knew systems humanity had forgotten. Maxwell grabbed his shoulder. "Cole, you can't fix this. Malthor melted the primary coolant pump. Even if you could reroute the system, there's not enough time to—" "I'm not fixing it." Ethan pulled free, diving deeper into the reactor's control interface. "I'm containing it." "Vexor, I need you to—" The thought completed through their bond before words could. Vexor moved instantly, positioning himself at the reactor's base. His throat swelled, and instead of destructive fire, He exhaled a stream of superheated plasma in a controlled spiral around the core housing. Metal that had been warping from radiation strain began to stabilize, reinforced by dragon fire shaped with surgical precision. That won't hold for long, Vexor warned through their mental link. It doesn't need to. Just 12 more minutes. Maxwell was shouting into his comm, organizing the evacuation. Through the station's damaged sensor network, Ethan tracked people moving, slowly, too slowly. Injured crew members helping others, a group trapped behind a collapsed bulkhead, families refusing to separate. 283 souls and only 40 minutes to save them. Ethan's fingers danced across the console. The reactor couldn't be shut down, but it could be redirected. All that energy building toward catastrophic release if he could channel it somewhere else, somewhere useful. The idea hit him like lightning. "Vexor, can you carry the station?" The dragon's mental voice carried pure disbelief. "What? Not the whole thing. Just the habitat ring. If I detach it from the central hub, separate the living sections from the reactor core, reduce the mass by 80%, that is still thousands of tons. You're not doing it alone." Ethan's mind raced, calculations flowing through the bond shared between human ingenuity and dragon strength. The other Crevity are watching, waiting to see if I can save everyone. If you call them, if they help, Cormath will never agree. Then we ask this. Ethan locked eyes with his dragon. "You said she laughed when you chose me. She wants the Covenant to work. Convince her." Vexor hesitated only a moment. Then his consciousness reached outward, a mental call that Ethan felt ripple through the bond. Ancient dragon speech, formal and binding, requesting aid under old laws. The response came in This's ancient voice. "You ask much, young one." The keeper asks, Vexor corrected. And I ask beside him, will the circle abandon us to prove Cormath right? Or will you show that dragons and humans can still accomplish the impossible together? Silence stretched. 37 minutes until meltdown. Then, This's massive silver form appeared outside the engineering viewport, followed by the bronze twins Raxor and Raxel. Even Selen, the pale blue scholar, descended from her watching position. Only Cormath, Malthor, and Drevok remained distant, watching but refusing to help. 4 dragons, This said, her mental voice carrying to all of them. 4 dragons can move your habitat ring, human keeper, but you must cut it free perfectly. One miscalculation, and we tear the station apart ourselves, killing everyone inside. I won't miscalculate. Ethan's hands were already moving, accessing the station's structural systems. Frontier Station 9 was modular by design, built to be expanded or reconfigured. He'd studied the schematics 100 times while doing maintenance. Now he was putting that knowledge to use in ways the architects never imagined. Explosive bolts, docking clamps, emergency separation protocols meant to jettison damaged sections. He could use all of it, trigger everything in precise sequence, split the habitat ring cleanly from the dying core. But the people inside would experience sudden decompression, temperature drops, radiation exposure in the seconds between separation and the dragon's establishing grip. Vexor, can you shield them? Not all at once, my power has limits. Through the bond, Ethan felt an idea forming, not from him or Vexor, but from both simultaneously. A blending of thoughts that transcended either individual. The necklace is amplifying our bond, Ethan said slowly. What if we amplified it further? Shared the power across all 5 dragons, created a networked shield that would require bonding with all of them. Vexor interrupted. Multiple bonds at once. No keeper has attempted that since the first days of the Covenant. The strain could kill you. 29 minutes until meltdown. Ethan looked at the monitors showing frightened people huddled in the assembly bay, families holding each other, Maxwell organizing the injured, People who'd ignored him every day of his life, never learning his name, never seeing him as anything but the kid who fixed broken things. He could save them and die trying, or play it safe and watch them all burn. Not really a choice at all. This, Ethan called outward with his mind, clumsy compared to the dragon's effortless communication, but clear enough. If I bond with you, will you accept? The ancient dragon's surprise rippled through the void. You understand what you ask? The weight of multiple bonds simultaneously? Your mind could fragment. Your body could burn out from the power flowing through it. Will you accept? This was quiet for 3 heartbeats. Then, I will, and I speak for Raxor, Raxel, and Selene as well. We will join your covenant, human keeper. We will help you save your people, and if you die from the strain, we will remember that you tried. The necklace blazed like a star against Ethan's chest. He opened himself completely, tearing down every mental barrier, every protective instinct. The bonds formed simultaneously, 5 streams of power crashing into him from 5 ancient minds. Ethan screamed as his consciousness expanded to hold them all. This is vast memory, millennia of experience, Raxor and Raxel's twin perspectives thinking in perfect synchronization, Selen's deep knowledge of ancient lore, and Vexor's fierce loyalty, anchoring him when he almost flew apart. Blood ran from Ethan's nose, his ears. The necklace burned against his skin, but the network held. 5 dragons, 1 human, united through bonds that hadn't existed 5 minutes ago. Now, Ethan gasped. Positions. I'm triggering separation. The dragons moved as one, guided by his tactical mind through their shared connection. They gripped the habitat ring's exterior with claws designed to rend starship hulls. Energy barriers flared around the entire structure, 5 shields overlapping into a single protective envelope. Ethan's finger hovered over the separation command. Maxwell's voice crackled through the comm. Cole, whatever you're doing, everyone's in position. They're terrified but ready. Don't let us down, kid. Never planned to, Ethan whispered. He executed the command sequence. Explosive bolts detonated in perfect cascade. Docking clamps released with metallic screams. The habitat ring shuddered, groaned, began to drift free from the dying reactor core, and 5 dragons, united by ancient covenant renewed, started pulling 283 souls toward safety, while the reactor behind them built toward detonation. The habitat ring tore free with a shriek of metal that Ethan felt through every bond simultaneously. 5 different perspectives flooded his mind, this compensating for structural weakness on the port side. Raxor and Raxel synchronizing their pull to prevent spin, Selen reinforcing the shield where radiation spiked highest, Vexor anchoring the entire network through his primary bond with Ethan. The strain was immense. Ethan's vision blurred red. His heart hammered against ribs that felt ready to crack. The necklace was burning through his chest now, actually burning, flesh blistering where crystal touched skin. But he held the network together through sheer desperate will. Through the sensors he watched the reactor core they'd left behind. 17 seconds until critical mass. Faster, Ethan gasped through the bond. The dragons beat their wings in unison, pulling the massive habitat ring away from the doomed station core. Thousands of tons of metal and machinery and fragile human lives, dragging through space at speeds that should have torn everything apart, but didn't because 5 shields merged into one held everything together. 10 seconds. They weren't going to make it far enough. The blast radius would still catch them, vaporize the ring, kill everyone inside. Cormath's massive red form suddenly appeared ahead of them, wings spread wide. Behind him came Malthor and Drevok, the last 3 holdouts, the dragons who'd refused to help. Move aside first, this commanded. No. Cormath's mental voice carried strange emotion. I was wrong about humans, about the Covenant, about what strength truly means. His throat swelled with gathering fire. Go, we'll buy you time. The three dragons wheeled as one and dove back toward the critical reactor. Ethan felt rather than saw what happened next. Cormath, Malthor, and Drevok positioned themselves between the habitat ring and the core, their bodies forming a living shield. They opened their mouths and breathed fire, not at the reactor but around it, creating a compression field of superheated plasma. The reactor detonated. The blast was apocalyptic, a miniature star birthing and dying in the same instant. But Cormath's field contained it, redirected it, channeled the explosion away from the fleeing habitat ring. For 3 seconds that lasted forever, the three dragons held against forces that could melt planets. Then the field collapsed and Cormath, Malthor, and Drevok vanished in the white-hot fury. No! Vexer's mental scream tore through the bond. But there was no time for grief. The shock wave was coming, a wall of superheated gas and radiation expanding at impossible speed. The 5 remaining dragons pulled harder, straining muscles and will, but physics didn't care about determination. Ethan's mind raced through calculations with speed the necklace granted. They couldn't outrun the blast, couldn't tank it. The shield would fail and everyone would die, and Cormath's sacrifice would mean nothing, unless— "Trust me," Ethan said through the bond. He didn't wait for responses. Through the network, he seized control of all 5 dragons' fire glands simultaneously, a violation of autonomy that would have been unthinkable under the Old Covenant. But this wasn't the Old Covenant. This was partnership forged in desperation. The dragons roared as Ethan forced their throats open. 5 streams of plasma erupted backward, directed with mathematical precision, not attacking the shockwave but creating thrust, turning dragon fire into improvised rockets. The habitat ring lurched forward, acceleration slamming everyone inside against walls. Through the sensors, Ethan heard screams, felt broken bones through the network of people he'd never met. But they were alive to scream. The shockwave overtook them. 5 shields flared brilliant blue. The merged barrier held for 1 second. 2, 3, metal groaned. Welds began to fail. The western hull started to buckle. The shockwave passed. They'd survived. Ethan released his control of the dragons and immediately collapsed inside the bond, every reserve of strength exhausted. The network started to fracture, 5 minds pulling apart as his concentration failed. "Stay with us, Keeper." This's voice was gentle despite her ancient power. "Just a little longer. We need somewhere to put your people down." Through blurring vision, Ethan accessed what remained of the habitat ring sensors. A planet 3 million kilometers distant. He'd seen it in briefings. Frontier World 7, marginally habitable, no colonies yet, but breathable atmosphere and basic resources. "There," he whispered, coordinates flowing through the bond. The dragons adjusted course. The flight took 40 minutes that Ethan barely remembered, consciousness fading in and out as his body tried to shut down from the trauma of maintaining 5 bonds simultaneously. But every time he started to slip away completely, Vexer's presence anchored him, kept him breathing, kept his heart beating. They descended through atmosphere that scorched their scales but couldn't break their determination. The habitat ring, never designed for planetary landing, hit the surface hard. Emergency systems deployed automatically, cushioning the impact enough that most people survived the crash. The dragons released their grips and collapsed around the ring, utterly spent. Inside, hatches opened. People stumbled out onto alien soil under an orange-tinted sky. Maxwell was among the first, helping injured crew members, organizing triage with the efficiency of someone who refused to accept that they'd actually survived. Ethan tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't support him. He slid off Vexer's back and hit the ground hard. The necklace had stopped burning. It rested cool against his ruined chest. The mark fully integrated now, permanent. Through the bond, he felt Vexor's exhaustion mirroring his own, felt this ancient satisfaction, felt Raxor and Raxel's wonder that they'd actually done something that mattered, felt Selen's quiet pride, and underneath it all, he felt the absence where Cormath, Malthor, and Dravok had been. 3 dragons, dead to save humans they'd been killing just hours before. Maxwell found him lying in the dirt. Cole, Ethan, stay awake, kid. Medic's coming. Did everyone make it? Ethan's voice was barely audible. 261. We lost 22 in the crash landing. Maxwell's voice cracked. But you saved 261 people who were dead otherwise. You understand that? You saved us. Ethan wanted to say something profound, something worthy of a keeper. Instead, he just closed his eyes and let unconsciousness take him. He woke 3 days later in a makeshift medical tent. His body was covered in bandages and IV lines, but he was alive. The necklace rested visible against his chest, the mark now showing symbols that glowed faint blue, even in daylight. Vexor's massive head appeared in the tent entrance. You're awake. Good. We need to talk about the future. Future? Ethan tried to sit up, failed. The covenant is renewed but fragile. 5 dragons bound to you through genuine choice. 3 dead, proving that change is possible. The rest of our kind scattered across the galaxy, still believing humans are enemies. Vexor's eyes were serious. You're a keeper now, Ethan Cole. Really and truly. That means responsibility, choices, challenges that make saving one station look simple. I'm just a mechanic. No. His voice came from outside the tent. You're the first keeper in 300 years, the one who proved the old ways can work, dragons and humans together again. Her massive eye appeared beside Vexor's head. What happens next is up to you. Lead us wisely, young keeper. We'll follow where you go. Ethan looked at the necklace, at the mark he'd grabbed without thinking, the power he'd never asked for. Beyond the tent, he could hear the survivors building shelters, organizing supplies, starting to forge a life on a world that would need a new name. He thought about Maxwell calling him a kid, even after everything. About the people who still didn't know his name. About Cormath choosing sacrifice over pride. About Vexor trusting a nobody mechanic with an ancient bond. Maybe that was the point. Maybe the Covenant didn't need heroes. It needed people willing to try, willing to fail, willing to believe that humans and dragons could be better together than apart. Ethan smiled despite the pain. Then I guess we should get started. Outside, 5 dragons roared agreement, their voices carrying across an alien sky, announcing to whatever came next that the Covenant lived again. And somewhere in the dirt and blood and hope of Frontier World 7, a nobody mechanic